Hi, welcome back or welcome to my channel if you're new. My name is Laura. Hi, hello, welcome. Today we are going to do the, I can't believe it's only the third update for my Project Level Up. And if you are unfamiliar with this series on my channel, this is a project that was initially started by Sophie Alexandra. I will have her linked in the cards in the description box, and then at the very end of the video you can just click her little face that pops up on my end card. She will be there as well. But this is a project started by her with the idea of like morphing a couple projects together to kind of create this theme, I guess. So it kind of crosses a pan those eyeshadows with a no pan left behind, which is kind of like a very timid, low pan that palette in my opinion. So I'm going to just grab a random palette that's on my desk and show you what I mean. So this project essentially is level 1, you have a palette and you use every single shade one time and hit one pan in that palette. Level 2 is you use every shade twice and hit 2 pans in that palette. Level 3, 3 times for each shade, 3 pans. Level 4, 4 times, 4 pans. Level 5, 5 pans, 5 times. And once you hit level 5, you do have the option of kind of restarting the project. So I'm going to just gently set this away. So you're essentially restarting the project, going back to level 1, working your way up back to level 5, so on and so forth, to touch as many, well, in my opinion, it's to touch as many eyeshadows as I can, especially since in 2022, I am trying to touch every single pan of eyeshadow that is in a palette. And this project is really helping with that. So this project is helping immensely with that, and then it's also helping with my pans. So I hyper focus in my Pan Those Eyeshadows series typically. This kind of helps me spread a little bit more focus out. So in this update, I am actually going to talk to you about my level 3 palette because we didn't actually finish it the last update. I'm going to talk to you about my level 4 palette, and then I think we're going to roll in my level 5. So I'm not going to dilly-dally. Let's just talk about my level 3, which was this heifer of a palette, as I lovingly call her. This is my Natasha Denona Purple Blue palette. And I had hit 2 out of my 3 pans at the last update, and I finally hit that 3rd pan. I hit it very quickly after that update, and then I was like, well, farts, we're here now. So it is what it is, but this is what my purple blue palette is looking like now. Before this project, we had pan in this shade here called Oxide and this shade here called Calypso Blue. This was in my Fantasy Self project pan that I did with Haley last year. This was in my Pan Those Eyeshadows. I think it was last year, I don't remember, but these 3 pans right here in the shade Golden Beige, Golden Rose, and Piggy, those were all hit via this project, along with the goal to touch every single shade in here 3 times, which I did, which like for these gray tones was very difficult, might I add. But I really enjoyed the purple half of this palette, which if you asked Laura from like 2 years ago, she would have been like, no, I don't wear purple. But now I like purple eyeshadows. So that is a fun fact that I learned about myself through this project. I really embraced the purple eyeshadows. I did do a 7 looks 1 palette with this palette as well. If you were curious, I will have that linked right up there as well as in the description box. But I am very happy to have gotten all of the use and all of the love that I did in this palette. And I'm very happy and content that it's going to take a seat back into my collection for a little while until it rolls into Pan Those Eyeshadows eventually, and we will eventually have to hit pan in another shade in this sucker, but that's a problem for another day for me. So before we talk about my level 4 palette, I did want to just kind of briefly touch on a palette that rolled in for level 4's place, and then I said no, but I will use every shade and talk about it, and that was the Kaleidos Futurism 1 Sci-Fi Green palette. This is the one that I was wavering around before to kind of explain the project, but this is like my dream of a color story. This is so beautiful in my opinion, but it's too similar to a lot of the shades in my Subculture palette. So I vetoed this from this project with the caveat, or like with the idea that I would use every single shade at least one time, kind of hitting that no pan left behind function of this project with this palette. And I did. I used every single shade in this at least once for a look. I think it took me 3 or 4 like eye looks to reach for every shade in this, but I was happy that I did that. And this was included in my Q2 palettes that I used every shade in for that portion, or that 3 months of the year. So I was very excited and happy that I did get my use out of this. Even though I didn't hit the pans, I don't mind. I got the usage out of it, and that to me is a very big thing in and of itself. Then our level 4 palette, we rolled in, because we vetoed that last one, we rolled in this guy, and this is the Going Coconuts palette by Colourpop. It is just a super neutral palette. And we did have a pan in the shade Lovely Bunch already. That was in one of my first Pan Those Eyeshadows back, I think it was 2020 that I started my channel. So I did hit pan in Lovely Bunch prior to it rolling in. The shade Get Crackin' fell and shattered all over it when it was in my Fantasy Self project pan. So that's not in this palette, but this is what we're looking like now. And I will say I did actually hit pan in the shade Palm Reader. You won't be able to see it anymore because I accidentally dropped this palette a couple weeks ago. Some of the shades got like popped out, like the shade here called De Coco, like popped out of the pan. So it was like a perfect circle of shadow that I just mushed back into here. And the same thing happened with Palm Reader there. It kind of crumbled away, so I had to shove it back and press it. So the pan isn't there, but it's a super malleable formula of a shadow. Like, I don't know if you'll be able to see the dip in there, but the dip is huge. Like maybe in the mirror, that angle kind of gives you the dip, but the dip is huge in there. And I feel like when I use my brush and dip into it, I'm going to hit pan any day. However, it's so malleable. So when I dip my little brush, sometimes flakes fall in from like the sides. So I did have pan in it. I marked it down. It only took me 7 uses in that shade to get pan. However, I kind of have to re-hit pan. But I'm counting that I have 1 pan out of my 4 pans in this palette. I have kind of been working on the shimmers in and of themselves to hit pan on. So I have been focusing mostly on this guy there, which is called Cocoa Crush. That's the shimmer I predominantly will wear all over the lid. And occasionally I go into De Coco, but I snagged a little corner of that off. But I am focusing my pan or my brush more in the center of the pan. Then I think I'm going to be boring and try to hit pan in this shade as well. This I use to help blend out crease work and everything like that, or I'll mix it with like other shades in here. Like I have today, these two mixed together for a lot of my crease work, plus a lot of other shades in there. But I was starting to look off mixing these 2 shades in the crease. So I think I'm going to try to hit pan in that guy called Shredded. It's just a matte with shimmer, like flesh toned kind of blending out shade. So I don't think it'll be hard, but it's just hard pressed. So it's going to take a while to hit pan in that. And then these 2 I think are just going to be slow movers because I have other shades that I wear as lid shades, and I'm much more, I mean, today would beg to differ, but I do like color a lot more than neutral eye looks. So there is that. So this is just going to be a slow mover for me, but I did reach for every single shade at least the 4 times needed. I haven't even been tracking anymore since I got my 4 uses. So I use this the most. At how many uses did I mark down? 15 so far. And I stopped tracking it. So oops. This guy has 12, again, stopped tracking it, 13 if I count today. I had pan at 7 uses. I used this one 7 times, this one now 8 times, 6 times, 5 times, 4 times. So really only the allotted amount of times for that one. And then 5 times for this guy. Just gonna keep chugging away. That's really all I can do with this. But I think because I have a long way to go in this palette, I do want, and I know rolling another palette, it's going to take me a long time to get my 5 uses out of it. So I think in this update, I do want to roll in my level 5 palette for the next couple months. So I think I'm going to do that. So it's about to start thunderstorming. So I just want to get this portion filmed and ready. So in my Tiny Decisions app, full disclosure, I do have every palette listed, but it does give you the option to kind of put weights to them. And what that means is the likelihood that it will be chosen. So there are palettes in here with a 0, which means they will not be chosen no matter what. And those are palettes that are either in my Pan Those eyeshadows or palettes that have already been in this project that I just want to touch other things. So Pan Those eyeshadow palettes, they are changing every time I have a Pan Those eyeshadows update, or the items in this project change, or they get taken out once they're in this project. So I have all of the eligible, I have all of the eyeshadows, but the eligible ones will be the ones that get selected from. So I'm going to reset the wheel because I don't know. I'm just nervous. So now we're going to just go ahead and randomly select. I'm going to re-roll this one. So I rolled the Camel palette, which is this guy, which we already have a pan in, but I'm going to veto this out of this project. There's not enough shades. It has to be at least 5, you know? So we're going to just veto that one out. Sorry, it's eligible to roll in a future version of this, but not right now. I am excited. We got the Nabla Side by Side palette, which I actually used for the first time today. It's in this look. So I'm actually quite excited that we're going to be rolling the Side by Side palette by Nabla in. So let me grab that and I'll show you. Okay, so I grabbed the Nabla Side by Side palette right here, and this is, oh, it's hard to open. This is what the color story on this guy is looking like. It's a very neutral color story. We vetoed this one, got a neutral. Vetoed this one, got a neutral. Kind of boring if I'm being quite honest, but I do know the Nabla formula is fairly easy for myself to hit pan in. So the uses that I did in this today aren't counting, but I did use, what are you? Bonjour, Rarity, Cedarwood, Burnt Sienna, and Tempera in my look today. They're in there somewhere. I promise you that. So I know that it's going to be relatively easy for me to hit pan in this because they don't take a whole heck of a lot of my effort to hit pan in, but I am actually very excited to roll this palette in and get some use out of it. Again, the formula in this is not super difficult. At least it wasn't in the Dreamy 2 palette. So that's kind of what I'm gauging the likelihood that this will be a successful level 5 for me. But I know Amber F is panning the Side by Side palette this year. I don't know if she's all the way done with it yet. I haven't caught her update this past month, I don't believe, but she's been like plowing through this palette like it's nobody's business. So if I can channel some of that Amber F energy into this and Subculture, I would be super happy. But that is it for my project level up. This is the 3rd update. Again, I am shocked that we are in July and this is only being updated every couple months because I just truly have not enough progress to show you guys that often. Stretched thin with my eyeshadow projects. We have Pan Those eyeshadows, Pan That palette, this project, level up, and then I sprinkle in eyeshadows to my other projects because I am a glutton for punishment apparently on this channel. But eyeshadow is my favorite part of my makeup routine, so of course it's the thing that I want to get all of my projects with. So that is it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to be kind to someone today. There is so much ugly in this world, and I'm looking at a very ugly rainy day right now. Rainy days are nice. It's just gloom and doom on a day off for me, which are very few and far between. But hug someone, tell them you love them. I hope you are staying healthy, sane, and safe, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye!